Welcome back to Slow Your Roll, everybody. I'm Cody,
I'm Alex.
and today we are going to talk about how in D&D and other games, combat is often kind of stale, and some classes are even rewarded for not really moving or doing anything other than attack, which of course makes combat really narratively boring. So we're going to give you some ways to spice up your combat with a bunch of different terrain issues and crazy scenarios. So let's get right into it.
So our first combat scenario is going to be raging rivers. You don't necessarily have to be on it, just on the side of it. There could be a cliff that's a little bit slippery, and you could call for a dex check when your party gets ambushed next to this cliff. Every time somebody has a turn, you call for a dex check. Maybe just to move, maybe just for the top of their turn, but there is a very serious threat of falling in the river, and you could be cast away down just a little bit farther on the map, and it could even take like a whole dash or a turn just to get back right in combat. This could also open up the very real chance of people drowning or being forced underwater. Your party could have to save them, and there's still an enemy afoot. So, there could be some very serious combat encounters or decisions to be making here.
If you know you've got players at the table that would enjoy it, you could put some vines or ropes along or above the river. Maybe they can just kind of swing back and forth for movement on their turns, with some checks and saves and things, of course. Or at the very least, maybe the enemies are especially good at using these ropes and vines, presenting one more challenge for your players.
Definitely. And everyone loves a good Indiana Jones story. And all of these things could be really cool on the side of a river, but what if you're careening down it? Whitewater rafting and a battle occurs. Something on the boat is astray and it's time to fight. You're definitely going to have to throw a couple of dex checks in the mix just to be able to stay on the boat.
Now we're going to go kind of the other route, the forest fire. Through tons of different means, a fire erupts in the middle of this forest where your players are fighting.
Fireball.
A blazing fire in the middle of the woods is going to be a real issue. This could cause falling trees and branches without the players expecting it, or enemies, of course, or even as bad as like smoke inhalation issues, prompting constitution saves sometimes.
That could be awful.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually the main concern when being a firefighter. It's not about like getting burnt, it's about dying from smoke.
Yep. Of course, fighting in the middle of a blazing fire with fuel everywhere is going to bring about a real serious time constraint. If things in the encounter don't wrap up or get under control quick, the issues that we already presented could get way worse really fast. Even as far as eventually your players having to decide to run because they can't put this thing out.
Yeah, if you can't end the combat encounter will end you.
That's right. You know what they say about fire. If you can't beat it.
Another combat encounter that may come up more often than you might think, the clifftop encounter. If you've ever played Lord of the Rings, then you know what I'm talking about. For the clifftop encounter, there could be harsh and heavy winds that could force dex checks, and these dex checks could even, in the worst of cases, force you down the hill, or maybe make somebody else try to save you. Hopefully you're connected by a rope, if your party's thinking ahead.
The cool thing is about the strong winds, if you've got players that are terrible with dexterity and you don't want to be that rough on them, with wins, I'd say you could do dex checks, strength checks, even constitution saving throws. Really, any of those.
Right. That makes a lot of sense, especially if there was like Goliath that was just sitting there like a rock. He's not getting blown over.
Yeah.
Again, just kind of like the fires, the air is thin up at the tip top of the mountains. This could inflict many different types of terrain disadvantages. In all honesty, it could lessen the party's movement by 5 or 10 per turn because they're not able to exert themselves. Or perhaps every couple of turns the party actually takes a little bit of exhaustion. Or perhaps there's no restful sleep up in the mountaintops and you get exhaustion after your rest. That could be a pretty heavy penalty to apply to some of your players, especially if you were going to use the exhaustion system we might be able to show you over here.
Since you mentioned it, can you imagine if your players needed to rest while they're in like a very violently sharp area of the mountain?
Roll for back pain.
Yeah. Or worse, it could even be impossible to get a long rest because every time they start to fall asleep, they feel the wind begin to pull them off of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be terrifying. You've already watched this far. You might as well just like and subscribe and stuff, because we've got plenty more. So
right, hit the bell or even check out some of our merch.
Yes, we do have merch too. Check the link in the description. Moving on. Anyone that's played a Halloween one-shot in their life has been here. This is the Haunted Graveyard.
And if you've ever been a murder hobo, you've caused one.
Many an encounter happened here at the Haunted Graveyard, so how do you make it special? One thing to consider is that all the tombstones and anything else that's there, trees or whatever else, but especially tombstones, can be used for cover. They could even be broken with certain attacks, and maybe if you've got the right monsters or players in play, these tombstones can be ripped out of the ground and thrown like giant stone frisbees.
And who knows, maybe if you break a certain tombstone, you make that spirit mad, and now you've got a new enemy.
As far as interesting terrain for this, there could be plenty of areas that are difficult terrain with rubble, or maybe even, depending on how gruesome your graveyard is, like piles of bones and things. But an easy and haunting one to apply would be just kind of like some drifting fog, and every now and then it can completely conceal creatures. Or this fog could just be toxic to inhale. And since you brought up the tombstone making a certain spirit angry, what if you made this whole situation a puzzle? The players are made aware that they have to break a certain tombstone to stop this curse, or a bunch of undead will be raised, and then they have to fight them. But they have no idea which tombstone, and of course, any one that they break is going to make some undead creature angry that they have to deal with after that.
I can just think of the backstory. Some necromancer that was clinging on to the last little bit of life. He did a spell on one of the tombstones, and now it's constantly repeating the reanimate dead spell. And you gotta break it. You gotta find that tombstone. But all you have is one little clue.
A good alternative to this, too, would just be one of these necromancers that were buried there, maybe, have a magic item that just reactivated, and that's what it is, and they have to find which grave's holding that.
And to be fair, if you give your party a item that automatically reanimates dead wherever they go, that'll be hilarious. They just walk into the town and they're like, oh my god, I didn't realize they buried cats over here. And if your party just happens to be getting overwhelmed by the countless undead that you're sending at them, there's a crypt that repels the undead. But they can't get out of the graveyard. They have to go to the crypt for reprieve. And eventually they'll figure out a way to fight their way out.
Hi, Kyle. He's like, I want to cuddle. This is all right.
So the next of our dynamic environments is going to be the Mage Tower. I cannot count how many fights have happened inside of a Mage, Sorcerer, or Wizard's Tower, whatever you want it to be. But at the same time, there's so many dangerous things in a Wizard's Tower. There's scrolls that could have different kinds of effects, potions that could be knocked over and really, really mess up some of the environment. Or, there could be teleportation circles from room to room to really just...
Come on, man.
Not to mention, there could also be teleportation circles in each one of these rooms, which the wizard could dive into to dynamically change the environment. 1 second he could be in his alchemy lab, next he could be in a field where he gathers his ingredients, and the next he could be in his aviary where all of the griffins happen to be.
This is awesome. There's so many dynamic things that could happen with this, and the best part is any of these things could happen anytime someone misses an attack.
Ooh, that would be really cool. As soon as somebody misses an attack, like magic missile goes over his shoulder, pops a potion of invisibility, and now you're screwed because you just did that to the enemy.
Yep.
And another cool thing about the Wizard's Tower is the many magical items within it. Who's to say the magic mirror trope couldn't be applied to this one? A missed magical attack or dart or something that could be a projectile hits the mirror and it's reflected right back to you. That could be crazy. And add a little bit of depth, because that would mean each and every one of the enemies have a small chance to have the monk ability of throw the missile back.
One cool thing with the magic mirrors, if the players end up finding this out early, they might even be able to use it to their advantage somehow. Maybe curving darts around the corner to hit the enemy or something like that.
And you know for a fact I'm going to steal the mirrors.
And of course, maybe there's a bunch of crazy machines or devices in this area, all powered by one magic crystal. And if this crystal's broken, then it could be some massive magic or arcane explosion and shut down the whole tower.
That would be a really cool goal for your party to try to achieve that they didn't even really know that they had to. Going through the various rooms, seeing different constructs activating as they go.
This one's really cool too, the minecart ambush. So let's say your players are making their way through this treacherous cave, and the only way through the next part is on rails and a minecart. That's fun as it is, but let's say once they get traveling on this minecart, they are ambushed by cave goblins or some other creature.
And I might also add, there's really only 2 to maybe 4 seats in a minecart. There might have to be a small party split or a party member or 2 behind the minecart in another minecart.
Exactly. And that means you could take these rails and have them go separate directions, quickly forcing your players to decide left or right, maybe give them a brief description. Maybe, if they can't make their choice in time, the party is actually split. But of course, combat on the rails like this is going to be off the rails. The first time that there's some sort of sizable hit towards the cart, there's carts flying everywhere, the rails are getting broken. Could even be that stalactites drop from the ceiling on players or enemies, depending on how things go.
Or fall on a stalagmite.
Regardless, this scenario is prompting saving throws for everything all the time. One really crazy idea that would surprise anyone involved would be maybe that the group of creatures duking it out accidentally discover a underground pocket of flammable gases that could of course explode or maybe just be toxic. Or if you want to be a lot nicer, while a player or enemy's falling off the rails and just falling, there could be a nice little stream at the bottom. I like that.
The stream could really just be something simple, and it could be a source of food if you guys get stuck down there.
Or you could be an absolute psycho and link this with the first one and make this a raging river combat now.
It's also at night. Your players are poisoned and they don't have their equipment, and
no one can breathe. There's somehow a terrible breeze.
And then covering one of the classics, the pursuit at night. You know that you're always going to have some sort of thief in the night that steals something from the party, or somebody has been caught in the middle of the night and now the chase is on. And this is how you should make that a little bit more interesting for your players. Running around in the cities could be pretty hard to follow somebody in all of the nooks and crannies, but running around on the roofs could be so dangerous. Jumping over gaps, ledges, and trying to make different sorts of dexterity checks, missing, running straight into chimneys and other things that might be detrimental on the roof, like broken or wet tiles, cats, wet cats. You never know what could be up there. You could even really play into the trope of a rooftop battle where the enemies could cut laundry lines, when you could even have a couple of your players have like a woman's garment hit their ear and now they're like, what's going on?
Classic.
Yeah, I've seen that at least 6 times in a movie.
Yeah, you should watch different movies.
Not to mention skylights are really hard to see at a high-speed pursuit. You would probably fall directly into the lap of an unsuspecting family. Spaghetti, anybody?
Speaking of the enemies cutting laundry ropes or other issues like that, they could even be smart enough to intentionally push tiles or boxes or things off of the roof to innocent bystanders on the ground, forcing the players to make a quick decision. Do they keep the pursuit or try to stop this person from being hurt?
I could totally think of that being like the Naruto Forest of Death thing, where they have to leave behind one party member to save that person, or at the least they're left behind for one turn. Another thing about rooftop battles, there's a few monsters that actually call these places homes. I know, weird to say, but gargoyles have got your back. There could be a very dangerous encounter should they disturb a gargoyle. Or let's just say, bees are really a pain in the butt, and don't disturb them either. But those are just a couple of ideas we've got for extreme encounters. Something to actually get your party up and moving, to almost give a new objective within the combat encounter itself. So if you guys got any more ideas on how to do that, leave them down in the comments, and we might even make a part 2.
Yes. All right.
Bye.
Bye.